Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Center for Scientific Research and Development at People's University, Bhopal, India, I warmly welcome you all to today's webinar. Welcome to another engaging edition of BioConnect webinar series, a student-led platform designed to spark scientific curiosity and connect academic learning with real-world challenges. My name is Paridi Sharma, and I'm honored to serve as your MC today. It is a special session in celebration of World Environment Day 2026, themed as Food Systems for Human and Planetary Well-being. Food systems are the backbone of human civilization, shaping what we eat, how we live, and how our planets breathe, from the soil that grows a crop to the plates that feed a family. Every step in food chain carry consequences for human health, biodiversity, and our climate. Yet today, these systems are under unprecedented stress, driven by overexploitation, climate disruption, and deepening inequality in food access. The stakes could not be higher, with millions facing hunger and unsustainable agriculture, pushing our planets to its limit. Transforming food systems is no longer optional. It is urgent. It is a moral imperative, a scientific challenge, and a collective responsibility. Today's session explores how we can reimagine food for people, for planet, and for the generation that will inherit it. I warmly welcome Honorable Vice Chancellor of People's University, Professor Dr. Harish Rao, our esteemed guest speaker, Professor Dr. Shonil Bhagwat, Professor of Environment and Society and Head of School, Social Sciences and Global Studies, the Open University, United Kingdom. Our mentor, Professor Dr. Subhash Jibore, Head of the Center for Scientific Research and Development, and Mr. Nityansh Patel, Organizing Committee Chairperson for this webinar. We sincerely thank all the dignitaries, faculty members, participants, and fellow students for joining us. To move ahead, it is my honor to invite Honorable Vice Chancellor of People's University, Professor Dr. Harish Rao, to deliver the opening remarks. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Pariti. Good afternoon to everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome all participants to this special session of the BioConnect webinar series organized by the Center of Scientific Research and Development, People's University, on occasion of World Environmental Day 2026. At the outset, I extend my warm greetings and best wishes to all participants on World Environment Day. This global observance reminds us of our collective responsibility to protect, preserve, and restore our environment for present and future generations. Today's theme, food systems for human and planetary well-being, is both timely and highly relevant. Around the world, we are witnessing growing concerns related to climate change, biodiversity loss, food insecurity, malnutrition, environmental degradation, and unsustainable consumption patterns. These challenges are deeply connected, and the way we produce, process, distribute, consume, and dispose of food has significant implications for both human health and the health of our planet. Sustainable food systems are no longer merely an environmental aspiration. They are a necessity for achieving long-term social, economic, and ecological resilience. By embracing sustainable agriculture practices, reducing food waste, promoting nutritious diet, conserving natural resources, and supporting equitable food access, we can contribute meaningfully to a healthier future for all. I am particularly delighted that today's program is being conducted under the BioConnect webinar series, which is guided by the inspiring philosophy of for the students, by the students. Such student-led academic initiatives provide valuable opportunities for leadership development, scientific engagement, and intellectual growth. I commend the student organizing committee for their dedication and effort in making this program a reality. I would also like to congratulate the Center for Scientific Research and Development under the leadership of Professor Subhash Gore for continuously creating platforms that promote scientific dialogue interdisciplinary learning, and meaningful engagement with contemporary global challenges. It is indeed a privilege for us to have with us today an eminent scholar, Professor Shonil Bhagwat, Professor of Environment and Society and Head of the School of Social Sciences and Global Studies at Open University, United Kingdom. Professor Bhagwat's distinguished contributions to environmental sustainability, biodiversity conservation, and the relationship between society and the environment have earned international recognition. We are grateful to him for accepting our invitation and sharing his valuable insight with us on this important subject. I am confident that today's special talk will stimulate thoughtful discussions and inspire all participants, especially our students and young researchers, to reflect on how sustainable food systems can help address some of the most pressing challenges facing humanity and our planet. I encourage everyone to actively participate in the session, engage with the speaker, and take away ideas that can contribute to positive change in our communities and institutions. Once again, I welcome our distinguished speaker, faculty members, researchers, students, and guests from across India and abroad. I wish the program great success and a highly enriching learning experience for all. Now I will hand it over to our MC. Parniti, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those inspiring words. I now invite the chairperson of the organizing committee, Mr. Nityansh, to share his welcome remarks. Mr. Nityansh, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Paridi. Good afternoon, everyone. Our esteemed guest speaker, Professor Dr. Shonil Bhagwat, Honorable Vice Chancellor of People's University, Dr. Harish Rao, our mentor, Professor Dr. Subhash Bhore, respected dignities, esteemed faculty members, and my fellow dear students and participants. Hello, my name is Nityansh Patel, Chairperson of this organizing committee for this webinar. I am proud to tell you that I am a BTech Biotechnology student at the Department of Biotechnology in School of Research and Technology, People's University, Bhopal, India. On the behalf of this organizing committee, it is my great privilege to warmly welcome you all to the 18th session of the BioConnect webinar series, a special student-led initiative of the student of Center for Scientific Research Development, People's University, Bhopal, India. Today's webinar title is World Environment Day, Food System for Human Planetary and Well-being. Explore the importance of sustainable food system and environmental well-being for human and planetary well-being. We are deeply honored to have with us our distinguished speaker, Professor Bhagwat, Professor of Environmental and Society, Head of School, Social Science and Global Studies, the Open University, UK. We are privileged to have with us such an esteemed researcher whose remarkable work in environmental sustainability and global studies has contributed significantly. I would also like to say, I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor of People's University, Professor Dr. Harish Rao, for his constant encouragement, visionary leadership, and graciously joining us today to share his valuable words. A special note of thanks goes to our mentor, Professor Dr. Subhash Bhore, Head of the Center for Scientific Research and Development, People's University, for his invaluable guidance, continuous motivation, and unwavering support in making this event a success. I would also like to acknowledge and appreciate the effort of my fellow student organizer. Their teamwork, dedication, enthusiasm truly reflect the spirit of academic excellence and collaboration at People's University. With immense pleasure, I once again extend my heartfelt welcome to all the participants and our expert speaker. I encourage everyone to actively engage throughout the session as we look forward to an enriching, insightful, and inspiring discussion. Now, I would like to hand over the program to our MC, Ms. Paridi. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nityansh, for those encouraging words. We are now ready to begin the core session. This session will be moderated by Ms. Salim, who will introduce our guest speaker and guide the session ahead. Ms. Salim, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Paridi. Good afternoon and welcome to everyone. I am Celine Khulko, and I am happy to tell you that I am a BSc Biotechnology student at the Center for Scientific Research and Development, People's University, Bhopal, India. I feel truly honored to serve as the moderator for this inspiring session. For today's session, we are privileged to have with us an eminent scholar and researcher, Professor Dr. Shonal Bhagwat. Let me introduce our speaker briefly. Dr. Bhagwat is a professor of environment and society whose work beautifully bridges the gap between the natural and social sciences. His research focuses on the complex relationship between humans and the environment, with particular emphasis on some of the most pressing global challenges of our time, including food security, biodiversity conservation, climate change, ecosystem services, and sustainability. His major research themes include the geographies of the Anthropocene, the era in which human activity has become one of the dominant forces shaping the planet, resilience of agriculture and food systems, and biocultural diversity studies. Across these interdisciplinary areas, Professor Bhagwat explores how ecological systems, cultural practices, and human societies interact to shape a sustainable future. Before joining the Open University in 2013, he directed the internationally recognized master's program in biodiversity, conservation, and management at the School of Geography and the Environment, University of Oxford, UK. Professor Bhagwat has also held prestigious postdoctoral research appointments at the University of Oxford and the Natural History Museum, London, UK, contributing significantly to interdisciplinary environmental research. His remarkable academic journey includes advanced degrees from both the University of Oxford and the University of Pune, India. In recognition of his outstanding contributions to environmental research and education, he has been honored with prestigious fellowships from the Linacre College, Oxford, UK, the Royal Geographical Society, London, UK, the Higher Education Academy, York, UK, and the British Ecological Society, London, UK. Today, Professor Bhagwat will be speaking on the highly relevant and thought-provoking topic, food systems for human and planetary well-being. In a world facing increasing environmental challenges, food insecurity, and climate concerns, this topic reminds us that the future of humanity and the health of our planet are deeply interconnected. I am certain that today's session will provide us with valuable insights into building sustainable and resilient systems for generations to come. With this brief introduction, it is my great honor and privilege to invite Professor Shonal Bhagwat to deliver his talk. Professor Bhagwat, over to you.
Thank you very much, Celine, for that very kind introduction. Thanks also to Nityansh and Paridhi and the Vice Chancellor for your generous remarks. And thank you, Subhash, my friend from the university in Pune, who we are still in contact with, for inviting me to give this seminar. It's always a pleasure to talk to such enthusiastic, committed, and motivated students. I'm delighted to talk to you about sustainable food systems on this World Environment Day 2026. I'll, in a moment, share my PowerPoint presentation and begin my talk. Food is such an everyday experience for all of us that we tend to take it for granted. So whether for lunch today you have had your famous dal pakwan from Bhopal, or washed down with Suleimani chai, or have chosen to have poha jalebi from Indore, food is something that is present every day and something that we assume and take for granted. But it's not something that everyone has access to, and not everyone has access to healthy and sustainable diets. You might be wondering, what is the connection between food systems and human and planetary well-being? And I hope in the next 40 to 45 minutes to explore some of those connections between food, public health, individual health, and planetary health and well-being. You will see here a map of India. There are 707 districts, and this map shows the distribution of the rates of malnutrition. That includes stunting on the left-hand side, overweight in the middle, and anemia on the right. And that is among children between the ages of 6 months to 5 years, based on National Family Health Survey. You will see Bhopal with a blue arrow there. And on the measures that contribute to the understanding of malnutrition, Bhopal is doing relatively well. It has very low levels of stunting and overweight among children between the ages of 6 and 59. It has slightly higher prevalence of anemia. But what this map suggests is that there is triple burden of malnutrition that many districts in India are currently bearing. And that triple burden is to do with either undernutrition, which causes disorders like anemia, which means some people simply don't have access to sufficient food. The second burden is that of overnutrition. And that means there is too much food and perhaps the wrong kind of food. And you will see that very prominently in some districts around India. And the third reason for burden is the malnutrition, which is the wrong kind of food that is available and accessible to people. And that means they often lack access to nutritious diet that provides not only macronutrients, proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, but also micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, and so on and so forth. So this triple burden is a serious problem that our current food system does not fully address. The second issue with the food system is that it gives rise to what are described as non-communicable diseases. So that means diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, and a variety of other diseases that are entirely to do with the lifestyles that people have. You will see the color coding of states in India, and Madhya Pradesh ranks somewhere in the middle, which means that the prevalence of diabetes in Madhya Pradesh is not as bad as that in Maharashtra or Karnataka, but not as good as in Uttar Pradesh either. Obviously, this is a large data set, and this is a very broad brushed picture. And you will see that in urban areas across the states of India, the prevalence of diabetes is much greater than in the rural parts of India. So rural parts in many states have less prevalence of diabetes. This is just one of the many non-communicable diseases, and there are different patterns that you will see when it comes to heart disease or hypertension or other non-communicable diseases. So that is the second issue with the food system. The third issue with the food system is that it has quite disproportionate environmental impact. On the left-hand side, you will see the carbon dioxide emissions from food production activities. So at the top there, a large proportion of emissions come from the production of livestock and crops. Agricultural food waste contributes some proportion of those emissions, and deforestation or conversion of forests for agriculture is another major driver of carbon emissions. So clearly, food has quite a significant environmental impact. On the right-hand side, you will see that impact growing between 1965, around the beginning of the Green Revolution in India, which dramatically increased production of crops, all the way up until 2021, which is when the data set stops. You will see a quite sharp rise in carbon emissions from the agri-food sector, starting from 1965 and going all the way to 2021. That is the largest increase that you will see when it comes to increase in carbon emissions. The other causes of environmental impacts are cropland expansion as well as intensification, forest products, grazing land, and also built-up land and fishing grounds are other sources of environmental impact of food production. So clearly, food systems are quite tightly connected with impact on public health through malnutrition and the triple burden that we looked at, through personal health, which is about lifestyles and their impact on the diseases, non-communicable diseases. And thirdly, food system also has an impact on the environment. So I hope that this shows connections that World Environmental Day 2026 provides a good opportunity for us to explore. Now, what I'm going to suggest in this talk is that sustainable food systems, right here in the middle, in the bull's eye, if you like, are essential to address all of the challenges of public health, personal health, and planetary health. And I'm going to explore each of these in turn. The reason why public health is important is because agriculture as a sector produces food, and that food either provides sufficient and good quality nutrition or it doesn't. And therefore, agriculture, food, nutrition are closely linked to the public health outcomes. The second area that I'm going to explore is personal health. And a human gut as an organ is underappreciated, but that connection between human gut, brain, and immune system is really important when we think about these non-communicable diseases or metabolic diseases, which have nothing to do with infectious diseases caused by viruses and bacteria and other pathogens, but they are to do simply with how the human body functions. And so the links between personal health and food systems are really important. And the third area that I'm going to explore is planetary health. And that is thinking about the big picture, the connections between the Earth systems, the environment which surrounds us, and the ecosystems. And the human actions have an impact on ecosystems and biodiversity. And that nexus of Earth, environment, and ecosystems is also closely connected with positive or negative outcomes for other types of health. And what I'm going to suggest is that sustainable food systems are right at the heart of these three types of health. And therefore, we cannot ignore food when we think about the environment and other forms of health and well-being. Now let's look at a more global picture of non-communicable diseases. You will see here 4 panels. On the top left is low-income countries, such as our neighbor Afghanistan, which shows that non-communicable diseases have risen between 1990 and 2023. And that rise has a moderate steep incline. On the top right-hand side, in the lower middle-income countries such as Pakistan or India, there is slightly sharper incline, suggesting that non-communicable diseases have risen more sharply between 1990 and 2023. In upper middle-income countries such as China, on the bottom left-hand side, that rise is all quite high. And in high-income countries, for example, Singapore, which is another Asian neighbor, the prevalence in 1990 was quite high already, and that prevalence has continued to grow. In proportion to communicable maternal, neonatal, and nutritional diseases and injuries, which are other two causes of disease burden, you will see that in high-income countries, non-communicable diseases contribute quite a large disease burden, whereas low-income countries contributes proportionately lower disease burden. But that suggests that as the countries progress through low income to lower middle income to upper middle income to high income, the burden of non-communicable diseases increases. And that is a worrying sign for an economy like India, which has rapidly grown in recent years and is carrying a burden of non-communicable diseases. And as Indian economy starts to grow and flourish even further, that challenge of combating non-communicable diseases becomes even more pressing. The second graph that I'm going to show here is that of the share of adults who are obese versus daily protein supply. And protein supply is primarily to do with animal protein. This is animal protein being one of the primary causes of environmental emissions, carbon emissions in the food system. But also, interestingly, as the animal protein availability increases, the rates of obesity among adults also increases, according to this data set. India is currently down here, which is a relatively safe place to be, but that's lower than the world average. But if you look at countries like United States or Australia or Russia or Brazil, they are at the upper end of the spectrum in terms of adult obesity and availability and access to meat-based products in the diets. So that's another worrying sign for a country like India, where agriculture really needs to address some of these health challenges that we are already seeing in high-income economies like United States, which have primarily meat-based diets. Environmental impact of agriculture is also really important consideration, and you will see here another graph of global emissions. About a third of those global emissions come from food, or just over a quarter come from food. And if we split those emissions from food, you will see that a large proportion of those emissions come from livestock and crop production. Around 60% of those emissions come from livestock and crop production. So the simple act of producing food is essentially a cause for carbon dioxide emissions globally. And that signals that those connections between environmental health, public health, and planetary health need to be addressed by the food system. And the more sustainable food system will be able to address these challenges more effectively than the food systems that we currently have. I will take public health, planetary health, and personal health in turn, starting with public health. So what are the causes of and the connections of agriculture, food, and nutrition with public health? You will see here that the some of the key facts about agriculture. Uh, in total, 4.8 billion hectares of land is under agriculture at present. Out of those, around 1.6 billion hectares is cropland, and 3.2 billion hectares is pastures. 1/3 of global land area is currently under agriculture, one farm or another. Out of that, small farms, so less than 2 hectares in size, 85% of them occupy only about 9% of area. But the large farms, which are more than 1,000 hectares, even though only a small proportion in number, 0.1% of the total farm holdings, they occupy 50% of land area. In this picture, you will see a typical large farm, which is dependent on agrochemical inputs, is dependent on machinery, and it's dependent on industrialized forms of agriculture. And therefore, looking at this picture, it's safe to assume that actually it's the large farms and the large industrial farming operations that, even though produce a large proportion of food, also contribute to a large proportion of environmental impacts. What are those environmental impacts? Input-intensive agriculture has an impact on land, soil, and water. Land, because the agrochemicals that are used have an impact on the fertility in the long term of land and soil. As you input fertilizers and other agrochemicals into land, the soil becomes depleted, even though crops produce higher yields. The impact on soil on the long term is really significant. Furthermore, the pollutants that large agricultural holdings create have an impact on water bodies, and that water pollution then ends up in rivers and even in drinking water in many cities. So that impact of agricultural operation on land, soil, and water is really significant, and one that we need to take seriously. The third piece of this jigsaw, if you like, is food. This is a Walmart supermarket shelf, and you will see very colorful packaging. And I'm aware that a lot of these products are making their way into Indian supermarkets, and they are commonly consumed in India today. The traditional Indian diets are being rapidly replaced by some of these products that essentially come from a small number of large corporations. So on the left-hand side, you will see that the 10 corporations in the world, Nestle, PepsiCo, Mondelez, Kellogg's, Associated British Foods, Mars, Unilever, Coca-Cola, all the big brand names that I am sure you are familiar with, own a large proportion of the brands that are sold in supermarkets. And so these large corporations have a control and monopoly over the food that we receive in our on supermarket shelves. So this prevalence of large corporations is a really important consideration when we think about agriculture, food, and nutrition. Because what these products essentially rely on is a small number of crops. You will see a variety of different colors on the supermarket shelves, but there are 3 main crops, rice, wheat, and corn, that are the raw ingredients for most of these products. And added to them are sugar, salt, and soya. Those 6 ingredients essentially make up a large proportion of these products. So even though these products give us an illusion of variety and diversity, in reality, they deplete diversity of food that we otherwise have available in our small scale farms around the world. Um, the farms that feed this industry and large scale industrial of production of food are inevitably big farms, and they are connected with the big food corporations. Here is a cornfield with big silos that you will see in the background, and a corn, particular varieties of corn are used quite heavily across vast stretches of land in countries like United States, in the prairies in particular, and that overproduction of corn essentially feeds these big industries, which then turn those corn products into a variety of nicely packaged, attractive foods that we see on supermarket shelves. Those products are not necessarily nutritious in optimum terms. So here are some key facts about what kind of nutrition a typical human needs, according to World Health Organization. World Health Organization recommends that 40 to 75% of total calorie intake needs to come from unrefined carbohydrates, that is whole grains, 15 to 30% from healthy fats, that is unsaturated fats, and 10 to 15% from proteins. 400 grams of fruits and vegetables are recommended by World Health Organization per day, and 25 grams of dietary fiber is another important recommendation. And if we look at the food production system that we have and the way the big farms and big food have an impact and influence on this food system, the food that they produce is far from the World Health Organization recommendations. It has far too many unrefined carbohydrates, which are highly processed products from flour, of whether it's rice or wheat or corn. There are far too many saturated fats in those products, and they nowhere near meet the daily requirements of dietary fiber because they are, for a reason, made hyperpalatable by removing fiber and introducing a smooth texture into those products. So on the nutrition count, the current food system also fails us when we think about public health. So what we then end up with as a result of this nexus of agriculture and food production is what are called ultra-processed foods. They are extremely calorie dense, so you will get a large number of calories from a small portion. They are also addictive. That means they will tempt your taste buds to eat more and more. They are hyper palatable. They taste very good because these industries invest in experiments with real humans and work out what kind of products attract human tongue, human palate more than others. And therefore, these products are made by design to be hyperpalatable. They are industrial formulations. They cannot be produced in a home kitchen. You will need large industrial plants in order to produce those variety of packaged crisps and chips. And they also have preservatives, artificial colors, and textures. So emulsifiers being some of the ingredients that are added to these foods to give them certain textures. So that high fat, high sugar, high salt diet is absolutely against nutritional recommendations by World Health Organization. So in terms of public health, our current food systems are failing us. They are not providing optimum nutrition. They are not providing food that is sufficiently diverse. and they are not providing agriculture that supports public health. And therefore, there's a real problem when it comes to the connections between public health outcomes and our current food system. I'm going to explore personal health now, and that has to do with the connections between gut, brain, and immune system. And this is a fascinating area of research. Though for those of you who are in biotechnology, this is one area that is growing in our understanding of what a human gut is and what its function is in our health and well-being. So human gut is a fascinating organ, much underappreciated. It has 100 trillion microbial cells, including bacteria, fungi, viruses. And there are 1,000 different species that are specialized feeders. They are specialized in feeding on certain types of foods that we eat. And so if we eat the right kind of food, we feed right kind of bacteria, fungi, and viruses. But if we feed on the wrong kind of food, we will eventually end up with bacteria, fungi, and viruses which do not necessarily support human health and well-being. If we look at the entire genome of these 1,000 different species and 100 trillion microbial cells that live in our gut, that's 150 times more genes than human genome alone, which means that when it comes to synthesis of amino acids and proteins through these through the genetic codes that these microbes hold, the metabolites that they produce are far more important than the metabolites that human genes alone could be attributed to. There is no wonder that this gut is called the second brain because it has 500 million neurons and it holds 70% of cells within the immune system. So gut is a really important organ that is much less appreciated than other parts of human body, and something that is really important when we think about personal health. Dietary fiber is the main ingredient that really supports human gut in ways that other types of food that do not support. There are soluble fibers which form gel-like substances when dissolved in water, and that not only provides lining to your gut, but it also feeds the right kind of bacteria. There is insoluble fiber, which is typically called roughage in the food, and that helps food to pass through the digestive tract. And there is prebiotic fiber that feeds good bacteria in the gut. And here on the right-hand side, you will see a variety of different plant-based products, including nuts, seeds, whole wheat bread, flaxseed, lentils. Those are rich sources of fiber in human diet. And dietary fiber is really important for maintaining the health of human gut, and therefore maintaining the health of a good bacteria and fungi and viruses within the human gut, and producing positive outcomes for human digestive system and human health. The third piece in this jigsaw is the brain. And brain needs no introduction. It is the body's command center. It's an organ that weighs only 1.5 kilograms, so a mere 2% of body weight. But it has something like 86 billion nerve cells. And those nerve cells are important not only in regulating the sympathetic nervous system, where conscious actions have outcomes for human system, but also parasympathetic nervous system. So that regulates digestion, for example, or flicking of eyelids that we don't have to consciously control, but parasympathetic nervous system takes over and it does that job in the background. So these 186 billion nerve cells are responsible for the functioning of all of the organs within the body. Vagus nerve is the main information superhighway that connects the brain to the gut. And a lot of the communication between brain and the gut happens through this vagus nerve. So gut bacteria produce neurotransmitters that regulate how we feel, what our stress response is like, our cognitive function, and even mood. And you might have heard the expression, the gut feeling, where we feel something, and that is directly linked to our emotion. Or sometimes we get butterflies in the stomach. Another expression, when it's exam time, we end up with butterflies in the stomach. And so that connection between the gut and our emotions is real. And that has to do with that vagus nerve that provides the information back and forth between the brain and the gut. And our immune system is the third piece in the jigsaw, which is influenced by this gut-brain connection. The central nervous system is directly linked to the immune system, and the communication via chemical signals and neural pathways between the brain and the gut regulate our health, regulates our behavior, and regulates disease response. So therefore, a vagus nerve is the key to gut immune brain connection. And when we think about immune system, it's not just about diseases like viruses or bacteria that can pass from one human to another, but these are also diseases that have long-term impact on life and health, as we have discussed before when thinking about public health. So what I have suggested here is that the nexus between gut, brain, and immune system, which regulates our personal health, is another very important consideration. And because gut is so closely tied to the food we eat, and the connections between gut and brain and immune system are so prominent, it takes us back to the food system. If the food system is sustainable, then it can support a healthy connection between gut, brain, and immune system. If the food system is not providing sufficient nutrition, if it's not feeding the right kind of bacteria, viruses, and fungi, then we will inevitably end up with negative outcomes for personal health and well-being. The third theme that I want to explore is planetary health. And this is particularly relevant to the discussion today of the World Environment Day. The connections between planetary health and food system are not always obvious, but the data we have seen so far suggests that food systems have a direct and often irreversible impact on our environment. And the environment in turn is connected with earth systems and ecosystems. And therefore, planetary health is the third key ingredient when we think about our food system. So let's look at what the Earth system means. And this is NASA's definition of Earth system. According to NASA, it has 5 key aspects. One is the atmosphere, which is the thin layer made up of gases that surrounds the Earth. Hydrosphere, which is the water and water bodies around the planet. The cryosphere is part of the hydrosphere, but it's frozen water, specifically at the poles, the Arctic and the Antarctic. Geosphere includes solid Earth, the core, mantle, crust, and soil layers. And the biosphere is the life that humans are part of. So that's Earth's organisms and also the matter that organisms and their waste produces, which is not yet decomposed. and returned to geosphere. So together, these 5 components form the Earth system. If we look at the global land use for food production, it has a large impact on the Earth system. So 71% of the Earth are oceans, but 29% of land. Out of that 29% of land, 76% is habitable land. The rest is formed of glaciers and what is typically seen as barren land. So deserts, salt flats, beaches, or dunes, even though they have their own life and living systems. If we think about the 76% of habitable land, 45% is agriculture, 38% forests, 13% shrubs, and remaining 1% urban and built up, and 3% water bodies. And out of that agricultural land, 80% of land is used for meat, dairy, textiles, and 16% is used for crops, which is plants that are grown for foods. So we will see at the bottom here that out of the total global calorie supply, 83% comes from plant-based foods. And out of that 83% from plant-based foods, 62% comes from proteins that are in human diets, come from plants. So plants are extremely important, and therefore, by extension, the biosphere component of our Earth system is extremely important. So the second component of this Earth environment ecosystem nexus is the environment itself that we are celebrating on the World Environment Day today. UNESCO defines environment as surrounding conditions in which living organisms exist, encompassing both natural and human-made elements. It includes components such as air, water, soil, and biodiversity, which are essential for sustaining life. On the right-hand side here, you will see a fractured soil, which is essentially a signal that either the drying of the land because of climatic forces or hypersalination of land because of excessive input of agrochemicals has degraded this land. And that degraded land really is counterproductive to the ability of it to produce sufficient and nutritious food. Environmental impact of food and agriculture is something that we have looked at already. But if we think about the global picture, 26% of greenhouse gas emissions come from food. The rest are to do with other human activities such as transport or infrastructure or houses that need heating or cooling, and so on and so forth. 50% of the world's habitable land is used for agriculture. So 51 million square kilometers. 70% of global freshwater withdrawals are used for agriculture. 78% of global ocean and freshwater pollution comes from agriculture. So a quite direct impact of the way the agriculture is organized today on the environment. And on top of that, agriculture also contributes to the loss of mammalian biodiversity and bird biodiversity. And that's primarily because the livestock contributes large proportion of mammal biomass, and poultry contributes large proportion of bird biomass. And that's directly linked to what we eat and what we use our land to produce. The third component is ecosystems, and UNESCO again defines ecosystems as complex networks of living organisms and their physical environments interacting as a cohesive unit. So you will see here an image of the Amazon rainforest, a complex system which provides habitat to a large variety of species of plants, vertebrates, and invertebrates. and therefore ecosystems are really important consideration when we think about the impact of our food on ecosystems. Now, here is another statistic where I have divided the statistics based on animal-based foods and plant-based foods. So those in the boxes are animal-based foods, includes all types of meats, dairy, poultry, eggs, and also seafood. And the remaining are plant-based foods. And you will see that the land use in meter squares for 1 year to produce 1,000 kilocalories of a given food product here. So beef, lamb, dairy have largest impact on land use, whereas plant-based products have much smaller impact on ecosystems and our environment. So that's another important consideration when we think about what we eat, how we produce, and how we distribute it. So I have suggested here that planetary health, which includes the connection between Earth system, environment, and ecosystem, is also closely connected to our food system. Now, wrapping up, I want to give 3 key take-home messages. So first is, what kind of agriculture can be sustainable in order to produce food in a sustainable fashion, but also provide positive benefits for planetary health, personal health, and public health. So primarily plant-based diet with some food from animal sources can provide optimal nutrition. And where that can come from is small-scale or medium-scale agriculture, as opposed to large industrial-scale agriculture. And therefore, the first take-home message is that we need to rethink entirely our agri-food system. Currently, it's entirely reliant on large farms, big food companies, and large supply chains that are based on trade across countries and transport across continents. So that food system at present is able to feed the world. But when we think about the consequences, geopolitical consequences, for example, war in Iran is a really live example where a lot of the fertilizer supply in the world has been stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. And in the UK, for example, there's a real concern that large farms, which are entirely reliant on fertilizer supply, are simply going to be unable to produce their best because without fertilizer. And therefore, rolling back from high energy, high input agriculture to something that is akin to more circular type of agriculture, where waste products from agriculture are plowed back into the soil, and where soil regenerates to provide a wider variety of products that can look after people's nutrition, that can look after food security, and that can look after nutrition security. So that form of small to medium scale agriculture needs to be supported through policies and supported through public campaign in order to provide optimum outcomes for nutrition and public health. The second take-home message that I want to give you is that diversity across the food value chain, from production to consumption, is important. So this is an South Indian thali, primarily plant-based. It has a wide range of ingredients. It is cooked from scratch, from raw ingredients. and it provides a square plate which has a right amount of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and also vitamins and minerals. And so a diet that is primarily derived from plant sources and that is sufficiently diverse provides the right kind of fiber which feed the right kinds of bacteria, viruses, and fungi in the gut, and therefore produce outcomes that are more healthy for health and well-being of people. And therefore, diversity is a key ingredient that our food system should prioritize. Some recent research on the gut, human gut, and the microbiome suggests that if you eat 30 plants a week, that can support a sufficiently diverse variety of gut microorganisms, and that can have positive benefits for human health and well-being. The third thing that we need to consider in the food system is food is not just a personal issue, it's not even a community issue, but it's a societal issue that needs to be addressed collectively. So it's not sufficient to just simply assume that farmers will be able to produce the right kind of food without any support. There needs to be direct policy and governance support to small-scale farmers in order to produce sufficient diversity and variety of food. There also needs to be a global trade policy that provides optimum outcomes for human health, well-being, and public health, as well as looking after planetary health. So in conclusion, what I have suggested is that if public health, planetary health, and personal health is to be our priority for human and planetary well-being, then sustainable food systems are at the heart of that picture. Those sustainable food systems will then support agriculture, food, nutrition connections, provide right kind of nutrition. Food systems will also support personal health through gut, brain, and immune system connections. And sustainable food systems will look after our planet better through the Earth system, environment, and ecosystem nexus. And I will leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Bhagwat, for that truly enlightening and thought-provoking talk on food systems for human and planetary well-being. Your presentation beautifully highlighted how food systems are not only connected to human health and nutrition, but are also deeply linked to biodiversity, climate resilience, sustainability, and the future of our planet. The way you explained the relationship between environmental conservation and food security has certainly given all of us a broader perspective on the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. I am sure everyone in the audience has gained valuable insights into the importance of developing sustainable, inclusive, and resilient food systems for future generations. Now, we will move into the question and answer session. I encourage all participants to type their questions in the chat box. We will try our best to take as many questions as possible within the available time. To begin, I would like to ask a few questions on behalf of our participants. So my first question is, with increasing pressure from climate change and population growth, how can global food systems be redesigned to ensure both environmental sustainability and food security?
Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent question. I think we hear a lot of the discussion about how the world needs to produce more in order to feed the growing population of the world. And that discourse has meant that large companies and large-scale farms are able to then argue with the governments that they need better support, and they can therefore then control the agri-food system. In reality, production is not so much of a problem. The problem is distribution, getting the right kind of food to the right kind of people at the right time. And that is the real challenge that needs to be addressed. So even if we roll back on some of those large scale farms, we will still be able to produce sufficient and nutritious food that can feed the world if there are right policies and right support available to the farming population of the world.
Okay. Thank you for sharing such an important perspective on the future of sustainable food systems. Modern agriculture has significantly improved food production, but it has also contributed to biodiversity loss and ecosystem degradation. In your view, how can we balance productivity with ecological conservation?
Yeah. That is another excellent question. And I think I've described briefly what a small scale and medium scale farming might look like. So if we think about a hectare of land, which has only one crop, wheat, that will produce a few tens of tons of wheat, and that can feed or make 1,000 loaves of bread or chapatis, or however you want to use that wheat. But if we use that same hectare of land to produce tree nuts, to produce millets, to produce lentils, to produce fruits and vegetables, to produce poultry and eggs, then that can actually provide sufficient nutrition for a large family or a small village. And therefore, it's about shifting the priorities in the food system. And rather than thinking about producing at scale, it's about building that food system ground up, thinking about the optimum outcomes for nutrition, health, and well-being, and designing the food system, including the farming and agriculture, to suit and to meet those needs. So a food system that is more sustainable will not only look more diverse in its appearance, but it will also provide the right kind of ingredients for health and well-being.
That was truly insightful. It's a delicate balance between agricultural development and environmental conservation. And many experts believe that sustainable food system require changes not only in agriculture, but also in consumer behavior. What role do individuals and communities play in achieving planetary well-being through food choices?
Yeah. Consumers or public in general are really important pieces in this jigsaw, because consumers or the public have agency in ways that no other stakeholder does. However, I think what has happened in the current food system is that the public or the consumers are marginalized, and large corporations have been able to lobby with the governments to serve their own interests and the interests of their shareholders. So one way in which the public can influence upwards how the food system delivers the right kind of outcomes is by making the right choices. So, for example, if you have a choice between buying a food that is ultra processed, as opposed to buying the ingredients that you can use to make food at home quickly, then choose the raw ingredients, opt for cooking at home and preparing food at home. It's often not easy to do in busy urban lives, but I think consumers need to decide what their priorities are. Often our food environments do not always support those choices. The food environments sell us certain types of food that are not always important, not always beneficial for health and well-being. And therefore, as a consumer, it's choosing the right kind of food most of the times is something that we can do to influence upwards how the food system delivers us that kind of food.
Thank you for highlighting how individual actions and community awareness can contribute to global sustainability efforts. Traditional and indigenous agricultural practices are often considered more sustainable. How important is indigenous knowledge in shaping future food systems and climate resilient agriculture?
It's not only indigenous knowledge that is absolutely vital, but also the traditional systems and the neglected and underutilized species that are grown in these systems that are going to become increasingly important. So if we think about the number of plants that supply a large majority of calories that we consume, you can count them on one hand. So essentially, rice, wheat, and corn, alongside sugarcane and soya, are five crops that provide a majority of calories consumed in the world that come from plant-based sources. Now, think about a world where climate is rapidly changing. The varieties of wheat or corn or rice that are currently grown may not give us the right kind of yields, may not even survive in extreme heats or floods or droughts. And therefore, we need alternatives that indigenous peoples around the world have planted over generations. And these are increasingly marginalized because of the mainstream food system. So alongside the knowledge of indigenous peoples, those neglected and underutilized crops need to be brought into the mix, grown on small and medium scale farms in order to become more resilient to climate change.
That was a very valuable insight into the importance of traditional knowledge and cultural practices in sustainability. Food wastage is a major global issue despite widespread hunger. What strategies or policy interventions do you think can most effectively reduce food waste at both local and global levels?
Yes, about a third of the food that is produced globally is wasted, and that is wasted at source as well as at the consumer end of the spectrum. And so there are small changes and large changes that will be needed in order to reduce food waste. So first of all, farm waste could be recycled and put back into the soil in order to improve the fertility of the soil. And at the same time, the household waste, kitchen waste, can also be recycled back into the soil or composted in order to improve fertility. So I think is the circularity of waste and its treatment that is important in order to reduce the prevalence of food waste at present.
Okay. Thank you for shedding light on such a critical yet often overlooked issue affecting both society and the environment. With the rapid advancement of biotechnology and alternative food innovations such as lab grown meat and precision fermentation, how do you see technology transforming future food systems?
Yeah, technology certainly has a role to play. So different places around the world have different types of environments, and we can't always grow every food in those environments. So in very cold places, for example, technologies that are able to produce food in polytunnels or greenhouses in controlled heated environments are important. Whereas in very dry climates, similar types of facilities will be essential in order to produce certain types of food. But ultimately, it's the connection between the crops, the animals, livestock, soils, and humans. That relational aspect between land and people that needs to be remembered when thinking about technologies. And not get carried away too much with technologies. So if we think about lab-based meat as a technology, which is really at the cutting edge of science, where you don't need an animal to produce meat. You simply take a tissue from an animal, take it to a lab, and then produce presumably tons of meat. But I think we need to be cautious about who owns that technology, whether it's going to benefit the consumers, whether it's going to benefit the farmers, or whether it's going to benefit large industries which can own this technology and make quite significant money out of that technology. So I think who owns the technology, whether it's in the hands of the right kind of entities, is an important consideration when we think about sustainable food system.
That was fascinating to hear about the role of innovation and biotechnology in shaping the future of food. Developing countries often face the dual challenge of malnutrition and environmental degradation. What policies or collaborative approaches are most essential for addressing these interconnected problems?
Yeah. So as I suggested in my talk, malnutrition and environmental degradation are not disconnected. And I think even though they appear to be disconnected in public policy, they need to be brought back in connection with each other. So those who are making rules and regulations about food and agriculture need to think about nutrition as well as thinking about the environment at the same time. And so if you are designing a policy for which kinds of farms and what kind of farming to support, those policies need to factor in the nutritional outcomes from the land and agriculture, as well as the environmental outcomes from the land and agriculture. And only then can we truly aspire for a food system that benefits people and planet.
Excellent. The last question is important. As students and early career researchers, what interdisciplinary skills and perspectives should we develop if we wish to contribute meaningfully to sustainability and food system research?
Yes, that is $1 million question. And I think often in academia, there is a push for specialization. You start with one subject and then you become so specialized in that subject, even get a PhD in that subject, that you forget everything else. So thinking outside the box, looking for connections that don't naturally come to mind is what we all, as curious human beings, curious students, can do in our everyday academic journey. And if we are then able to see those connections, we can explore those connections through our work, but also address those connections by getting the right people on board, making the right kind of change, and working as a collective rather than as an individual. So there is a lot to be said about transdisciplinary ways of working, not getting bogged down in particular ways of thinking within a discipline, but actually looking beyond and making those connections, working as a collective, finding collaborations, and really think about the big picture rather than getting bogged down in one's own subject.
Thank you, Professor Bhagwat, for your valuable guidance to students and young researchers like us. Let me check with the audience if they have any questions. And here we have few questions in our chat box. So I will just read out for you. So the question is, what changes in consumer behavior would have the greatest positive impact on planetary well-being?
Yeah. So consumers have a lot of agency, and exercising that agency, whether it's through your ballot box or whether it's the everyday choices that you make in the supermarket, is really important because we can then hold the powers that be to account in order to effect a change. If we simply accept the status quo, and if we assume that the status quo is what it's always going to be, then we will never achieve that change. But consumers have a lot of agency and can make a positive impact by making the choices that have a positive impact on change.
Thank you so much, sir. So the next one is, what are the benefits of promoting local and seasonal food consumption?
A lot of benefits of promoting local and seasonal food consumption. First of all, seasonal food has less environmental impact. So there's a clear link between local and seasonal food and planetary well-being. Secondly, local and seasonal food is diverse, and that has a positive impact on personal health. But local and seasonal food also has positive impact on public health by promoting a food economy that is based on supporting local farmers, supporting local businesses, and promoting consumption of that locally sourced food products.
Okay, thank you so much for that. The next question is, how can farmers adopt eco-friendly practices without affecting their income?
Yeah, that is an interesting question. And I think the prominent discourse is that farmers need to go big, go large, use a lot of agrochemical inputs, and without those inputs, they will not be able to produce sufficient food. So the emphasis here is on quantity of food rather than quality of what they produce. And that discourse, in my view, needs to shift. So eco-friendly practices can become the vehicle of that diversity in food supply. And that diversity can not only support household food consumption, but it can also support income. So if you take that example of 1 hectare of farm that produces a variety of different things, if there is a cash crop alongside poultry and eggs, alongside vegetable gardens and fruit trees, alongside millets and lentils, then that diverse farm holding can not only support the livelihoods of a family or a household or a village, but it can also connect that household with the wider economy. So a farmer living in a rural area with those connections to a city might be able to then boost their income through those connections, whilst also providing nutritious and sufficient food to their family and to their household. But obviously, farmers cannot do that on their own. It's the local and regional governments that need to decide what their priorities are. Farmers need policy support rather than favoring large farms. If the government supports small farmers, they can then meet their bottom line, so to speak, whilst also providing diverse and nutritious food for the benefit of society.
Thank you for that valuable insight. The next one is, what are the biggest challenges in achieving food security while protecting the environment?
So the biggest challenge currently, as I hope the statistics I showed, is the prevalence of animal-based proteins and the emissions from animal-based proteins in the world food system. So Eat Lancet Commission, for example, has promoted plant-based diets and plants being the main component of food systems can address a lot of those environmental challenges whilst achieving food security. So the biggest challenge is animal-based protein, and to address that challenge, rolling back on animal-based protein and promoting more plant-based diets is one solution that has been widely accepted at present.
Thank you for wonderful answers. The next one is, what policies are most effective in supporting sustainable agriculture?
Yeah. So sustainable agriculture, as I have suggested, has benefits for personal, planetary, and public health. And therefore, policies that can support sustainable agriculture would include, for example, diverse policy to support diverse farming as opposed to reliance on one crop, policies that support more plant-based production of crops as opposed to animal-based production of crops, and policies that minimize or reduce agrochemical inputs and instead focus on restoring and regenerating soil, water, and environment would be the ones that will support sustainable agriculture. So in other words, sustainable agriculture is something that is easily accessible if policies support it, and the kinds of policies that will support it will look at the connections between sustainable agriculture, public health, planetary health, and personal health as other important considerations for policymakers.
Thank you so much for that answer. And let me check with the other participants as well. Hello, participants. Do you have any questions? If yes, please unmute yourself and ask your questions. So, yes. Esteemed participants and fellow students, this has indeed been a highly enriching and inspiring session. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Bhagwat for his valuable time, insightful discussion, and inspiring thoughts on sustainable food systems and planetary well-being. I would also like to sincerely thank all the participants for their active involvement and enthusiastic participation throughout this session. Now, I hand it back to our MC. Ms. Paridhi, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Celine, for moderating the session so wonderfully. I now invite Ms. Varisha to deliver the word of thanks on behalf of organizing committee. Ms. Varisha, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Paridhi. Good evening, everyone, respected dignitaries, esteemed faculty members, and dear fellow students. I am Varisha Hassan, a proud BSc Biotechnology student from the Department of Biotechnology and Microbiology, Center for Scientific Research and Development People's University, Bhopal, India. It is both an honor and a privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizing team and the Center for Scientific Research and Development. As we conclude today's enriching session of the Balconic webinar series, first and foremost, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished guest speaker, Professor Dr. Shonil Bhagwat, for graciously taking time out of his busy schedule to be with us today. His insightful presentation on food system for human and planetary well-being has been truly enlightening. We sincerely appreciate and value valuable knowledge and the perspectives he has shared with us. We also express our sincere thanks to the Honorable Vice Chancellor of People's University, Professor Dr. Harish Rao, for his gracious presence and encouraging opening remarks. Sir, your continued support to our BioConnect webinar series is highly appreciated. Our heartfelt appreciation goes to all the respected dignitaries who joined us today. Your presence has truly enriched this event. We extend our deepest gratitude to our mentor and our guide, Professor Dr. Subhash Puri. Sir, your vision, guidance, and constant support have been the driving force behind this webinar series. Your mentorship continues to inspire and empower us. We would also like to thank our moderator, Ms. Celine Falco, for conducting the session so effectively and ensuring it's smooth. I would like to take the moment to highlight the essence of the BioConnect webinar series for the students by the Students Initiatives. It stands as a testament to how passionate learners can achieve great heights when given the right platform to explore, question, and grow. This series not only connects us with global experts, but also fosters a vibrant academic environment driven by curiosity and collaboration. To our enthusiastic audience, thank you for your active participation, engagement, and insightful questions. Your involvement truly added value and energy to today's session. Most importantly, we want to record our sincere appreciation to the management of People's University for their unwavering support and encouragement. Your belief in student-led initiatives like the BioConnect webinar series inspires us to dream bigger and achieve more. With this, I now hand over the proceedings back to our MC, Ms. Paridhi. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanisha, for expressing that gratitude so well. Dear participants, please take a moment to fill out the that it has been shared in the chat box. We'll pause for 2 minutes to let you submit the Thank you for your feedback. Your e-certificate will be sent to your resident when you ready to start. This will become This is Pariti Sharma signing off on the